Canadians go to the polls in the next 24 hours. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau could be looking at losing his parliamentary majority and the prospect of a minority government. North American correspondent James Glenday is on the campaign trail. He joins us now from lovely Montreal. James, so this has been quite the fall from grace for this once superstar on the international scene. How did things go so badly for Justin Trudeau?
Good morning, Madeline. Well, you're quite right. It has been a fall from grace. A year ago, nobody really would have predicted that the Canadian election could be this close and that Justin Trudeau could be in this position. But he had a couple of scandals, in particular an ethics scandal at the start of this year that really damaged his government and actually put his Liberals behind the Conservatives. They've clawed some ground back, but this election campaign is actually finishing the way it started, pretty much, with both the major Canadian parties mired below 33% of the vote. In fact, the latest polling forecasts have them below 32% of the vote, which, as you mentioned, means that unless the polls are pretty drastically wrong, Canada's going to end up with a minority government, and it's unclear whether or not Justin Trudeau will be able to hang on to his prime ministership. I think the latest forecast have it at about an 85% chance of neither major party winning a majority of seats in the parliament.
So tell us a little bit about these other parties, including the third party there, led by a really interesting and charismatic leader, Jagmeet Singh.
Yeah, the NDP. So it's kind of an unusual situation in Canada where they have a slightly different voting system to Australia, more like the United Kingdom, where seats are first past the post. And what that means is that you have much bigger swings between parties because you don't have voters essentially putting down preferences like we do in Australia. Now, Mr. Singh has done pretty well throughout this campaign. In fact, he has actually eaten into some of the support from both major parties, and his NDP is likely to probably hold the balance of power. It's further to the left of Justin Trudeau. However, in the past, in Canadian politics, the party that has won the most seats, even if it's not a majority of seats, has been the one to form government. So that's where we're not sure exactly how this is going to play out. The other party is very influential just here in Quebec. It is the Bloc Québécois, and they're dominating all the local newspaper coverage here because they are having quite a remarkable resurgence. In the past, they've pushed for separatism, things like that. But this time, according to the local newspaper, they're just going to be pushing for more rights for Quebec. So those two minor parties are going to play a really huge role. And it's worth stressing that we've seen in previous elections polls be wrong, and things are just so tight and so unusually tight for a Canadian election that it would only take polls to be 1 or 2, 3 points out, well within the margin of error, to totally change the outcome. And that's why we've got the major leaders out and about today just trying to put in and win over as many voters as they possibly can in the last few hours.
So we've talked a bit about the personalities. What are the issues that are really the hot button ones there in Canada?
It's really interesting because Vote Compass, which the ABC runs, is also run by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and in fact it was set up and invented by a Canadian political scientist. And they shared quite a lot of the data about what Australians cared about in the 2019 election and what Canadians care about at this federal election. And it's remarkable how similar the themes are. In both countries, climate change and the environment was the major issue on voters' minds by a significant margin. And it's worth stressing, when we say that it's climate change and environment, it doesn't mean that people necessarily support action on climate change, just that it's a top issue, followed by the economy, and both countries listed healthcare as their fourth most pressing concern. But what has marked this campaign here is, unusually for Canada really, not many big policy ideas. Perhaps both leaders have learnt a bit from Bill Shorten's pretty stunning loss in May, and they've kept their policy ideas pretty fuzzy. They've tried to make themselves very, very small targets, and it has been a pretty nasty, bitter, divisive campaign, which it's hard to say who that has really benefited, though, of course, it's worth pointing out that Justin Trudeau, when he was elected in 2015, said he was going to usher in a new era of kinder politics, more cooperative politics, and he promised sunny days. I guess those sunny days are well and truly gone, and he tries to hang on to his job.
And it looks like the sunny days aren't so sunny in Montreal either, but thanks very much for joining us from cloudy Montreal today, James.